At British Motor Heritage, we've been making replacement body shells for MG sports cars using original tooling for over 30 years. When production of the classic Mini ended in 2000, we took over the tooling from BMW, adding the Mark IV, Mark V and Clubman shells to our heritage production. Ever since then, Mini enthusiasts have been asking us if we would be able to manufacture a shell for the Mark I, for which there has been a growing demand. The problem that has faced us is that there were some very significant changes introduced with the Mark III, and the original tooling for the older, unique panels of the Mark I has long since disappeared or was probably modified to produce the later model. While we did already have the tooling to make common replacement parts like wings, grille panel, and doors, we needed to take another approach to sourcing many body shell parts. To get the ball rolling, we bought a complete 1966 Mini that could possibly have been restored as it was, so giving us a sound reference shell. It had the typical areas of corrosion and would certainly benefit by being rebuilt into a brand new body shell. This reference shell yielded some panels that were cut out and, together with the original drawings, were used to manufacture the press tooling to make new parts, like these cant rails. Tooling was also prepared to modify some stock panels from the production of later Minis, parts like the complete body sides, known as monosides. In late 2016, we made a prototype Mark I body shell, which was displayed at the NEC Classic Car Show. After listening to comments from Mini enthusiasts and our network of heritage specialists, a year later, we embarked on our first production run of 12 Mark I body shells. We were now able to start to restore our donor car, demonstrating the many advantages of using a new shell. As British Motor Heritage is principally a manufacturer of body shells and panels, we turned to one of our heritage Mini specialists to undertake the build. We delivered a shell to Somerford Mini down at Carn in Wiltshire, where Pete Hines and his team are known to be one of Britain's foremost in the art of Mini restoration. Along with it went all the component parts from the donor car, plus new subframes that we manufacture in our Witney factory. Other parts would be drawn from Somerford's own stock, and the engine would be fully remanufactured by Ralph Saunders at Pit Stop in Bryce Norton. Our Mini had a history of serious rallying, so when we took the engine to Ralph, his first task was not only to strip it down to investigate its condition, but also to see if it had been modified in any way. While he found that the head had been modestly ported, a big problem was that it had a set of straight-cut gears. Clearly, these would need to be replaced as we wanted a road-going car, just as it came out of the showroom back in 1966. The block had new standard-size liners fitted, and the crankshaft was reground before balancing along with the flywheel. All the usual parts, including rockers, valves and pistons, were replaced, and Ralph rebuilt the engine to original standards. Between 1959 and 1970, when the Mark I and Mark II Minis were in production, there were a number of different models, not to mention many production changes. As heritage production has concentrated on the standard car from 1964, Robert Somerford's had to make a few modifications to bring the heritage shell to 1966 Cooper S spec. These included the oil cooler mounts in the front and provision for the second fuel tank at the back. For any rebuild using a new shell, it's always worthwhile trial fitting the main components, particularly the subframes, front grille, and windows. This is because not only may there be minor design variations in the shells produced by the factory between 1959 and 1970, but the specs of the components could have been changed over that period. It's simply much better to rectify any problems now rather than after painting. Alex started building up the new heritage subframes. He used new suspension parts and formed the new brake lines from cunifer tubing. Brake lines are also available in kits ready for fitting at home. He used all the original parts where possible. The original heater was stripped and the parts resprayed. After reassembly, it looked like new. Although Alex was able to rebuild the motor, most parts of the windscreen wiper system, like the rack and the wheel boxes, were replaced with new. Back to the shell. After careful preparation, which was to ensure a showroom finish, 2 more coats of primer went over the primed surface of the heritage shell. It then received 3 coats of 2-pack color: almond green for the body and Old English white for the roof, the original colors of the car. It should be noted that it's always wise to re-prime a delivered shell, as base primers have, to some extent, a porous surface and may not form a good bond with the top coat if a shell is held in storage for any length of time after its manufacture. With the shell fully painted and polished, it was time to fit the new steering rack and put it onto its subframes so that it could be wheeled around for the first time. Now, major items could be fitted, starting with the wiring loom, followed by the roof lining. Next in was the rest of the interior, all supplied by Newton Commercial, who are also a heritage specialist. The front and rear screens were fitted, and at the back, the twin fuel tanks went in. The doors were fitted. Lights and all the chrome was to follow. When the engine arrived from pit stop, after fitting the ancillaries, it was hoisted up and lowered into place. When it was time for us to collect our Mini, as it was soon to be on display at the Classic Car Show, it was transported in the trailer to keep it looking brand new. We took the Mini to pit stop for the engine to be set up on the rolling road. Ralph made some initial adjustments to timing, mixture, and carb balance, but left full power runs until 500 or more miles have been added to the clock. The Mini was completed in time to take its place on the British Motor Heritage stand at the Classic Car Show, alongside our MGB Roadster that had been built for us by Tim Kelly from St Agnes in Cornwall, another of our heritage specialists. We were joined there by the people from Somerford Mini, who had all worked on the build. After the show, we took to the country roads around the Heritage Factory in Oxfordshire.